Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to this TNN presentation all about travel hacking and transferable points. Feel free to turn your cameras on. We love to see your faces. We have a lot of people joining. Okay, as you're turning your cameras on and finding everything, I would love for you to find the chat and share in the chat where you're calling in from, what number TNN event this is for you, and what level travel hacker you are. And we're just gonna do like 4 levels. So beginner, medium, beginner, intermediate, and expert and super expert. Okay, so beginner, intermediate, expert, super expert, travel hacker. I want to see in the chat what you are. And if you're a medium one, that's okay too. For the next 3 minutes, I'm going to be sharing a presentation just about TNN because I see that it's a few people's first times here. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what we're all about. So bear with me. Can everybody see my full screen? Yes, perfect. Okay, so welcome to the Nomadic Network. I'm Erica and I help run this with Nomadic Matt. You might have heard of him. You might have been here because you saw this on his website or in his newsletters. This community was founded by Nomadic Matt back in 2019, and we've hosted over 250, actually, I think it's over 280 virtual events at this point. And so we do a lot here. We are also back to hosting in-person events. We've hosted about 200 of those, which is also pretty crazy. We love to bring people together. And we just launched a brand new website, and you could find everything you need to know about it at thenomadicnetwork.com. This is us. We have lots and lots of meetups. And we would love to invite you to follow us on IG, TikTok, register for all of our events, join our group tours. And if you so choose, we love like onboarding new chapter leaders so that we have different chapters in all these different cities around the world so that you could really just pop into an event wherever you are. You can find out all that, you could find out about all of that on our website. So I would just love to give you a few reminders for tonight. We love it when you turn your video on. These are meant to be in person, so love to see your faces. But we will ask that you'll stay muted. We have quite a few people on this call tonight, almost 100 already. And so if you have a question, just type it into the chat. Type the word question in the beginning so that we can easily go through, pull them out, and ask them to Ricky at the end in the Q&A. We do ask that you follow our speakers and support them. They all do this out of the kindness of their heart and their passion for sharing their knowledge with us. So we invite you to do that, and let's have some fun today and get inspired and learn how to transfer points or earn transferable points and travel hack so we could get all the free tickets we want. I am going to stop sharing my screen and let Ricky introduce himself and take it away. Ricky, we are so grateful that you're here. I met Ricky at TravelCon. Who was at TravelCon? Type it in the chat if you were at TravelCon this year. Oh, we have David. Okay, wonderful. I met Ricky at TravelCon, but he is a travel hacking OG over in Canada. So if anyone here is from Canada, he specializes in Canadian points and miles. And so I'll let him give you his real full bio, but thank you so much for being here, and go ahead, Ricky.
Hey everybody, pleasure to be here. Thank you, Erica, for the invites. It's great to see so many of you part of the Nomadic Network community. And yeah, I'm excited to share with you today a bit of knowledge about some of the things that we do at Prince of Travel with respect to using points to book flights and hotels and travel the world. Yeah, great to see a few Canadian faces in the chat, as well as a few people who've been at TravelCon before. Those were always lots of fun. And yeah, just thanks so much to Erica and Matt for inviting me in and having me do this presentation. I'm excited to share with you guys a little bit, maybe get some inspiration flowing and get some ideas for using points, and then answering some of your questions at the end. Yeah, quick little bit about the business as well. So Prince of Travel it's my website that I've launched for 5 years now. 5 years ago, I started the website to help Canadians and people around the world use their points better and fly around the world, stay in hotels, get a lot of these elevated experiences at lower prices. And it's been one hell of a journey so far, and I've really enjoyed it. And always looking to help Canadians, Americans, people from all over the world do a little bit of what we do and share some tips and knowledge. Shall we get started then? We'll go ahead and share. All right, everybody should be able to see this. So this is today's quick set of slides that I've prepared about credit card rewards and points, but transferable points specifically, and why they're so powerful and why they're sort of the central focus of earning and redeeming points, the advantages they offer, why they should be a key part of your strategy. I will say I saw a few international faces in the chat. The presentation is mostly geared towards Americans and Canadians. That's kind of where most of the world's best credit card rewards game is to be played. Just wanted to put that out there. I think there's a few tidbits that international folks would be able to draw from in the presentation, but largely focused on North America. So let's get started. Here's the the fun part, right? When you get to earn points and redeem them for amazing travel experiences, flights, hotels, upgrades, all that. And I thought I would just throw some inspiration. I usually like to start the presentations with the prizes on offer. If you're able to maximize your points, both earn them in large quantities and redeem them for high value, then what you end up getting is a few different possibilities, right? One is kind of luxurious travel experiences at a lower price than obviously their normal prices, which are often out of reach. The other option is maybe you don't prefer luxury, you just prefer more travel experiences, more trips that you can go on. That's also a possibility too, that you can use your points to fund more trips than you would otherwise take just using cash alone. And here's kind of one of the mantras of the game, right? Earn points, see the world. That is kind of, I honestly just wanted to show you guys this little graphic I made right here. Okay. So delving into today's presentation about transferable points specifically, before we get there, I wanted to summarize a few of the major ways to earn points, common across the US and Canada. So before you get into thinking about maximizing points, it's important to make sure that you're on top of your finances. So make sure that you can handle credit cards without being tempted to overspend, and being able to always pay off your balances on time and in full. That's kind of something you'll always hear when you're talking to people who are into the points game, because it's really important to make sure that you're not either overspending or paying extra interest on top of your credit card payments, which does happen if you are late on payments. So you want to always pay off on time and in full to make sure that you're playing the game and you're winning, right? Rather than kind of letting the banks win, which is what they want. So we want to play the game, we want to win, and now let's delve into how. A couple ways to, there you go. We'll go through a couple different ways to earn points, right? The basic way is to put every purchase you make on a credit card. And that's kind of the idea, the basic idea behind the game is obviously you've got day-to-day spending that you have to do, stuff that you got to buy throughout your day-to-day lives. And the idea is to put all these purchases on a credit card to make sure you're earning at least 1 point for every dollar you spend. Now, the faster way to earn points is to understand a little bit about what are the multipliers that each credit card offers in which categories of your purchase. So let's say you go out to eat a lot. What are some of the best credit cards to use for restaurants and dining? Let's say you prefer to not go out to eat, you just buy groceries and cook at home a lot. What are the best credit cards to use for groceries? Oftentimes, there's cards that offer 4 times the points, 5 times the points, rather than just 1 times the points on your purchase. And by using the right credit card for the right purchase in each category, this is how you rack up the points 4 times, 5 times, as fast as just using any old credit card that earns 1 times the points. Now, the fastest way, by far the fastest way to kind of supercharge your earnings and really start coming out ahead and start, bringing some amazing trips within reach is credit card welcome bonuses. So when you sign up for a new credit card in Canada and in the States, there's often big welcome bonuses on the table. These are kind of incentives for consumers to hop on this product, give it a try. And oftentimes you'll see 50,000, 80,000, 100,000 points, if not more, that you can get just for signing up and then hitting a certain spending threshold. So as long as you always have a plan to hit that spending threshold, and you determine that the card's welcome bonus makes sense for you, and that's a chunk of points that you want to earn that will help you get closer to your potential travel goals, then that's potentially a good card to sign up for, and go ahead and earn those points. And when it comes to getting closer to the travel goals, that's where much of what we're about to talk about comes in. So with that in mind, I just wanted to run through a few examples of that last point, credit card welcome bonuses in both Canada and the US. And I want you to pay attention to the specific credit card that's being featured here, right? So first, this is the Canadian issued platinum card. Here, you've got 95,000 points plus a component that's based on how much you spend on eats and drinks. So this is the platinum card issued by American Express. Also issued in Canada, we've got the TD Aeroplan. This is TD is one of the big 5 banks here. Aeroplan is one of the biggest airline programs. So this is what we call a core level, like a mass market credit card that's issued by TD in partnership with Aeroplan. Now there's a few US cards that I wanted to highlight. American Express Gold card issued in the States. This is a super popular card, earning 4 times the points at restaurants worldwide. You can see here, we talked about earlier, maximizing points earned on each purchase. And this is one of the classic examples for that. So dining, if you live in the States, you're thinking gold card, 4 times the points, earning points towards my next trip. Okay, now this is a different example, right? United Club Infinite card. I really just picked any United card here, but this is a card issued by Chase on the Visa network, and it's in partnership with United Airlines. And the last example we've got also issued in the States is Chase Hyatt Visa. So this is issued by Chase in partnership with Hyatt Hotels, so one of the world's bigger hotel chains. Now, we've highlighted a few different credit card offers, and the reason I wanted you guys to pay attention to the specific card is because now we're going to talk about the different types of points that exist out there. So the first type of points I'll highlight is airline miles, airline points. You might also hear them referred to as frequent flyer miles. And these are generally, each airline has their own program and they issue points in their own currency. I've got a few examples listed out here you may be familiar with. United, right? We've got the airline and the name of the program. So United Mileage Plus, Delta Sky Miles, American Advantage, Alaska Airlines. Those are some of the big, US ones. Then we've got Aeroplan here in Canada, and then some international ones. So over in like the UK, and then they've got a partnership here with Qatar Airways as well. They all share the Avios program, and we'll touch upon this later as well. Other international prominent ones, Singapore Airlines, KrisFlyer, Emirates Skywards, Virgin Atlantic, Flying Club, Air France KLM, Flying Blue. So each one of these major global airlines has their own program, and they issue points in that program. And I think a lot of people who are newer to points often get overwhelmed by all the different programs out there, having to know like exactly what's going on with all these programs. Understandable. And there's beyond these examples, there's many, many more examples of airline programs. For now, let's just absorb the fact that airline miles, airline points, that's one type of points that you can collect. Another type of points that's available to you is hotel points, right? Also known as hotel loyalty programs. So these are for accommodations, places to stay. The world's biggest ones are Marriott Bonvoy, Hilton, Honors, World of Hyatt, IHG, recently rebranded as IHG One Rewards. And there's a few smaller players too. Accor Live Limitless, Best Western Rewards, Choice Privileges, Wyndham. These all exist out there. They've all got their own footprints and networks of hotels. All their own different brands under the main brand as well. And if you earn points with one of these programs, the idea is you can redeem them with each of the brands across all their properties. at all the rules and rates that they've set, which is the next point that we're going to go through. So let's talk about a few characteristics of the airline and hotel programs that we've covered so far. These largely, apply to basically all the programs that we just talked about. In general, each program operated by an airline and a hotel will have its own sweet spots. Okay, and the term we use in the community, sweet spots, it just refers to ways to redeem that particular type of points for the best value compared to every other way you could use points, right? So for airlines, some routes that you can book using a certain airline's points are going to be better value than other possibilities. Same for hotels. I think we could get into a discussion about what's good value, right? What is good value? What does that mean? In-depth discussion of that is probably beyond the scope of this presentation because value is ultimately subjective to the person who's actually redeeming. When we say highest value in general, the easiest, the most straightforward way to think about it is how much would this travel that I'm booking, whether it's a flight or a hotel, otherwise have cost me if I were to pay cash. So if you were to pay cash for a flight and that was a super expensive flight, but you use points for it, then we say that you've gotten good value for your points because otherwise it would have been very expensive. If you didn't use points, but it would have been a fairly cheap flight, let's say we've got a community of budget conscious travelers, let's say Ryanair in Europe or Air Asia in Asia, right? If it's the type of $15, $20 flight, it's often the case, the type of thinking that you'll do is maybe I'll just pay cash for that and save my points for a different flight in the future when they'll fetch me more value, when they'll save me more cash. So that's just a quick way to think about value. We can get more into detail there in the Q&A too. But that first point there, it's a characteristic of all the airline and hotel programs. All right. Another characteristic, this one is less favorable, right? Each of these programs can change the rules at any time. When you participate in programs, you don't own the miles. There's terms and conditions saying that all the airlines and hotels own the miles that are issued in the program, and they can change the rules, change the prices. And usually when they change the rules, change the prices, it becomes less favorable for the consumer. That's just kind of the lay of the land. It's how it's always been. And inflation, it affects points as well. So over time, things tend to get more expensive. When this happens, generally we call it a devaluation of the program. Basically, the program has gotten less valuable compared to before. Unfortunate, but it does happen. Now, here's something important to recognize if you're collecting points in an airline or hotel program. Once you've earned the points, you're basically locked into that program. You cannot generally take those points that you've earned in, let's say, United miles and turn them into Delta miles or American miles or Air Canada Aeroplan points, right? Yeah, once you've earned it through your credit card, let's say once you've gotten the welcome bonus or the multiplier points, you're locked into the program. You have to spend it according to the rules and prices of that program. There are a few exceptions listed to here. We saw that Avios is kind of shared across a bunch of airlines in the previous slide, so you can transfer interchangeably over with that program. And the other exception, major exception, is Marriott Bonvoy is generally used for hotels, but you can transfer these points to a bunch of airlines as well. That's the one, hotel to airline transfer option that does sometimes make sense. Other programs do let you do it, but it's going to be poor value, not really a good idea. So 2 exceptions to keep in mind, but generally, if you've earned United miles, you have to redeem them through the United program. Not necessarily for United flights, right? They've got partner airlines, but you have to use United's rules and charts to kind of go ahead. Same for Marriott, Hyatt, Air Canada, all the other programs too. There were a few more characteristics. Nope, that's all the characteristics I had. All right, so those are some characteristics to keep in mind for airline and hotel programs. Setting the stage for the final type of points you can earn, and that's transferable points. And that's the focus of today's presentation. We're going to talk about why transferable points are, so powerful and why they're the best type of points you can collect, and why I recommend anybody who's starting out focus on transferable points before diversifying further. So here are a few examples of transferable points to get us started in the States. You've got basically all the points issued by the major credit card issuers. So American Express membership rewards, Chase ultimate rewards, Citi thank you points, Capital One, this is Capital One miles. So these are the major 4 transferable rewards in the US. And then in Canada, we've got American Express membership rewards as well. Obviously, American Express, global company, they've got a Canadian presence. RBC, one of our big 5 banks, has the Avion program, which is also transferable points, and HSBC rewards is the third major transferable player. So let's talk about a few characteristics of transferable points and why they're more powerful, why they basically encompass the power of multiple airline and hotel programs. This is why. Each transferable points program can transfer, right? It's all in the name, transfer points to a different number of like a wide range of airline and hotel partner programs. We call them transfer partners. So the list of transfer partners for each of the programs that we just talked about, this list, right? Each program listed here has a different set of transfer partners. The idea is if you collect points in one of these programs, though, you have access to that entire list of transfer partners at your disposal. And that's going to generally encompass both airlines and hotels. Because if you think about it, all of the banks, right, they want all the consumers out there to just bank with them, to just collect those points. And they want to serve the traveler in all the different ways, all the different needs that a traveler has, which is to book a flight and to book a hotel. So American Express wants you to just collect American Express points so that when you need to book a trip, you're thinking, I'm going to use my Amex points to book my flight by transferring here and my hotel by transferring here. They want to give you those options. So in general, most of the transferable points will give you both airline and hotel partners to pick from. Here's the other advantage. You only transfer points when you have to book something. So, right, like when it's time to plan a trip, you have the option of keeping your points with American Express, just to take the example, and saying, I'm going to look through this list of transfer partners, like all the possibilities, and see which flight is best. And we're going to look at an example later on. And only when you've decided which option is best, do you then need to transfer the points to, like, let's say, Air Canada, Aeroplan, right? And then complete the transaction there. You have flexibility in that regard because before you transfer, you always have the option of using these points with any of the airline and hotel partners that are in play. In a similar fashion, we talked about how each airline and hotel partner has their own sweet spots. And when you collect transferable points, you have access to all of the sweet spots because you can transfer partners to one program and get that sweet spot, or a different partner program and get that sweet spot, depending on what type of trip you want to take. Keep in mind, all the sweet spots are different. So this kind of boils down to having to do some research and figuring out which of the programs that are available to you is going to serve you best. Once you've done that research and figured out which option is best, you then go ahead and you have the option of transferring points at that instant, and then you can book. This is an important one that I think is worth mentioning. Keep in mind that individual airline and hotel programs change their rules all the time, and they regularly do so. If you were to collect points in a specific airline or hotel program, remember, you're locked into that program, generally speaking. So if that airline or hotel decides to change the rules, you really have, you very little recourse. Your points have gotten less valuable just because the airline has decided to do that. If you collect transferable points currencies, however, if one of the transfer partners changes the rules, you're still good because you have many other options to choose from. You're protected against devaluations in any individual program in that sense. And keep in mind, although most programs do devalue over time, within the span of like planning a single trip, within, let's say, a 1-year window, when you're thinking about a certain trip, it's unlikely that multiple programs will all change their rules within that span of time. So generally speaking, you're good to go. Even if one program changes, you have many other options to choose from. A couple more characteristics. Transfer partners is just one option for transferable points. It's generally the best option, but each of the banks usually lets you also redeem points directly against a travel purchase. I saw in the chat earlier, some people were saying, I've collected tons of points, but I've never transferred. I've just used it for a certain booking worth a certain dollar amount. And I would wager that most people who are just getting started with points are most comfortable redeeming points this way, kind of directly against travel at a fixed ratio. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a great place to start. But we'll see soon that, and we'll discuss more, in the remainder of the hour, that transfer partners can give you a lot more value by, giving you both optionality and in many cases, the ability to use fewer points for the same flight that you would by redeeming directly. So most of the banks, in fact, like they advertise the ability generally to redeem directly against travel purchases. They advertise that a lot. They tend to advertise the transfer partners less. But that's where the power lies. That's where like spending a little time figuring out how everything works can really pay off. And the last thing that really juices up the possibility of leveraging transfer partners even further is the transfer bonus. This is something that rotates throughout the banks, but each bank, every quarter or so, every couple of months, they'll put on some transfer bonuses of 10 to 50%, where if you transfer points to a partner, you actually get a boost that's just offered by the bank itself. This is probably the most powerful thing about transferable points that will, move the needle significantly in your favor if you can leverage it. And again, in the example that we're going to go through, you'll see just how powerful it can be. So overall lesson, because of all of the bullet points we've talked about, transferable points provide much more flexibility compared to earning airline and hotel points directly. So if you could earn one American Express point or one, let's say, Delta SkyMile, right? They're partners, but if you had the choice, you would prefer to earn one American Express point. Similarly, if you could earn one Chase point or one United Mile, they're partners, but if you had the choice, you would want to earn one Chase point because, again, you can transfer that point to United, but you also have the ability to use it in many different ways. It gets pretty complicated. It gets pretty complicated. Remember I said that each of the major transferable points currencies has their own list of partners. So in the States, you've got these four, the major ones that I've highlighted, right? Chase, American Express, Citi, and Capital One. I also touched upon that Marriott Bonvoy can transfer to airlines. So in this little matrix that I found on the internet, it's listed here as well. And you've also got some smaller players in the form of Brex and Bilt. Now, this list actually goes on for even longer. We're only looking at the Star Alliance Airlines right now. And this matrix basically shows you which transfer partners transfer to which airlines. So having a chart like this handy is pretty useful, I must say, because each of these lists are different. And I've been playing this game for 5+ years. I can kind of think of these off the top of my head. But if you're just getting started, definitely having a list like this is very useful. And definitely, when we share this slide after the fact, I'll add a link in there for you to locate the list. Just to kind of show you guys a bit what's going on here, if it's not clear, right? American Express, let's just read this vertically. It transfers points transfer one-to-one to Air Canada Aeroplan, to ANA, Avianca. If you look at Chase, let's say, that also transfer one-to-one to Aeroplan, but not some of these other airlines. So, you depending on which type of point you have or want to collect, you can figure out that those points can be transferred to which programs. And then the question is, which programs offer which sweet spots? I think that's been a lot of theory and conceptual talking. So let's go into an example. All right, let's just show you a very brief example of what I mean. So let's say you're interested in booking this flight, right? Japan just reopened today, and I was there on a package tour a couple of weeks ago. So everybody wants to go to Japan now, right? It's finally open. Everybody's looking to book. So let's say you wanted to book this Los Angeles to Tokyo flight. I think most budget conscious travelers, obviously the default is economy class. That's just how most people travel. But let's say you were curious what business class is like on this flight. It's like this, by the way. It's pretty amazing. And if you can maximize your points and experience a special flight like this or two, that can certainly add to the overall travel experience too, right? So in this example, we'll consider both economy class and business class. And yeah, let's say you're interested in booking this Los Angeles to Tokyo flight. You have American Express points. So I just pulled up this search results for using points to book this flight. This is the search result when you search for this flight, like next week, basically a couple days from now in economy class, when you're redeeming points directly for the flight. So we're not doing a transfer partner yet. We're just looking at redeeming points directly. You can see here that what's happening is basically American Express is looking at the cash price, the current cash price for the flight, and charging you a certain number of points. And if you figure out the ratio here, it's basically 1 cent per point, right? That's kind of the value that you're getting from your points, 1 cent per point. It's asking you to pay 94,000 membership rewards points for this one-way flight from Los Angeles to Tokyo in economy class. So this is American Express. If you had Chase points, it's actually a bit higher than 1 cent per point, depending on which card you have. We can get into that more in the questions. If you have American Express, it's generally 1 cent per point if you're redeeming directly against travel purchases. Or another way people often refer to this is like booking through the portal, right? You've got this American Express portal that you've logged in through, and you want to like book travel through the portal. And this is kind of a fixed rate that you get. We see that this is the United flight, right, at 10:50 a.m. on that day. If you look at the ANA flight, All Nippon Airways, the Japanese airline, 4:50 p.m. that same day, it's the same ratio, right? The cash price is currently $947, and it's asking you to pay 94,680 something points. So same ratio, 1 cent per point. Can we do better is the question. Before we get there, let's take a look at business class, right? You know, we're a little curious about what business class would be like. So we type this into the portal. We're like, how many points is business class going to cost? On All Nippon Airways, which is that fantastic business class seat that I showed you guys earlier, it's going to be 3,209. That's the current cash price, obviously super expensive. And the points price also super expensive. Remember, it's a fixed ratio. So this is 320,880 points that they're asking you for. That's obviously a huge amount, right? That's like far beyond even even multiple credit card welcome bonuses. Again, can we do better? You'll see here that you actually get a little discount on the cash price if you hold the platinum card, just as a little sidebar, but still, this is a lot of points to pay. So then the question is, can we do better? And now we're searching on aircanada.com. So we're searching on aircanada.com under the Aeroplan program. And the reason we're searching Aeroplan is because if you just like scroll back a few slides, right? We've got here this handy chart that shows you that American Express points transfer 1-to-1 to Aeroplan. So if you have American Express points, basically you can turn those into Aeroplan points. And if Aeroplan is more favorable, then it's obviously in your best interest to transfer points to Aeroplan instead of paying these prices that we see. So again, reminder of the numbers, 94,000 for economy and 320,000 for business. And over on Aeroplan, it's only 50,000 for economy and 75,000 for business. So this is where, this is supposed to be like the big payoff of transferable points, which is oftentimes because of the rules and charts that all the different airline and hotel programs have set out, oftentimes it's going to be much cheaper when you redeem points to transfer them over to one of these programs rather than booking directly through the portal. Economy, 50,000 compared to 90-something thousand. Business class, even greater savings, right? 320,000 if you want to go through the portal, or just 75,000. If I may, kind of elaborate on the economy versus business class point here, you'll notice that business class is like only 75,000, right? It's like not that much more expensive than economy. It's right. Economy is 50K here. Business class is only 75K. Compare that to the cash prices where business class is far more expensive than economy. And the idea here is when you use points, premium cabin experiences become a lot more accessible, become a lot more within reach, even for the average traveler, right? If you've earned 100,000, 150,000 points from a single credit card welcome bonus, which is available right now in the States, then you can cover a round trip flight in business class using those points. And even if that's something you would never pay cash for, it's still an experience that's possible, that's within reach, whether it's something you want to do all the time or something you just want to try once. And that's why points are so powerful, because with cash, it's not really the case. With cash, it's like thousands and thousands of dollars, obviously out of many travelers' budgets. With points, even if you're regularly budget conscious, if you want to like occasionally live it up a little, points let you do that. And here's a prime example. But it gets even better. I know this is running a bit long, but I do need to say that it gets even better part, which is keep in mind the transfer bonus, right? We talked about how the transfer bonus can really supercharge your transfer partner possibilities even more. And just in the month of September, actually, we did see a 20% transfer bonus from American Express US to Aeroplan. So this exact redemption that we're looking at right here, there was the ability to transfer your points with a 20% bonus, which means that in order to book a 50,000 point redemption, you only actually needed to transfer, hope my math is right, 41,666 American Express points. That would become 50,000 points, and then you'd be able to book that. Or if you wanted business class, you only needed 62,500 American Express points. Think about that, 62,500 compared to the 320,000 points that the program would charge you for a direct booking. Therein lies the power of transferable points. I do wish we had more time for a few more examples, but I'm happy to walk through any questions that you may have. I wanted to conclude with some general things to know about booking on points versus paying cash. A lot of people have not booked travel on points before. Some people said, I've used points to book through the portal, but not transferring. And when you transfer and book through a loyalty program, like the example we just saw, there are a few key differences to keep in mind. First one, not every seat is going to be bookable on points at a reasonable rate. So the example I showed you is a day when I found that these seats were available, but not every seat that you can book on cash is going to be bookable at these rates. So that's something to keep in mind. I think that's something that a lot of newbies maybe take some time to wrap our head around. So not just because the seat is bookable, with money doesn't mean you can actually use points to book it at that same rate. So the best way to find these seats that are bookable on points is to either book far in advance, so 9 to 12 months out, or last minute. So that's 2 weeks before travel. Obviously, that's not possible for everybody, but that gives you the best chances to find flights that you want. If you can't book during these optimal windows, the best bet is to be as flexible as possible with your dates. So instead of saying, I need to travel on this particular date, if you're more the type of traveler who's like, I have this 2-month window, I'm happy to take, flights within a certain, like any day this week, let's say. Or if you're like, I want to go to Japan, but I also kind of would be happy with going to Europe, and I'm flexible between these two destinations for this trip, then you're more likely to find something on points that will work for you. This is an unsung benefit of booking on points. When you book on points, you have a lot more flexibility on changes and cancellations. Who here has paid for a cash flight, paid cash for a flight, just bought a flight regularly, and then it's you need to cancel or change, and either it's fully non-refundable, which just sucks, or you have to pay a hefty change fee, or you don't even get a refund. You just get an airline credit, right? During the pandemic, we saw that happen all the time. Travelers were having their flights canceled and not getting refunded. With points, that wasn't a problem. People who booked on points simply paid a small fee. In some cases, many other programs don't even charge a fee these days, and they get all your points back. So compare that to paying cash and having your hard-earned cash locked up by the airline. It's different levels of flexibility, right? And that's one unsung benefit of booking on points, in particular using transferable points. Last thing, just a quick little inspo section. Booking on points is much more flexible on the routing. So when you're just buying flights regularly, whatever flight results you see on Google Flights or Skyscanner or whatever, those are generally your only options. If you're booking on points, you can do things like I want to fly to Singapore, but I want to stop in Japan for 5 days on the way. You can't really do that when you're just paying for flights on the same flight, right? You could do separate flights, but then it gets expensive. When you're using points, you can do things like, yeah, I want to go to Indonesia, but I want to go to Australia first, stop there for a few weeks, go to Indonesia, come back through Europe, spend a few weeks there. Lots of possibilities, really makes the world, open up, really makes it, the world is your oyster. So this was just a small preview. There's lots we can get to in the Q&A to come. And, if we want to connect afterwards, happy to help with any questions too. But that wraps up Power of Transferable Points.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ricky, for just breaking it down like that. We have a ton of questions, so I hope you're ready. I think I want to sort of bundle a few of these questions. I think it was, we wanted a little more clarity on where exactly you're talking about when you're saying that go on the airline portal. So there were some questions about that. Can you explain how to get there?
Okay. So when I said booking through the portal, that's, I think, a common parlance for like booking through the direct, like American Express portal or the Chase portal or the Capital One portal or the City portal, or the American Express Canada portal, right? That's going to be on the bank's own website. So when you log into your banking account, you'll see like travel as one of the options. And then if you click that, you'll generally be presented with a screen that you can say, it's just like any flight search screen, but it lets you use your bank points. So that's what I mean by booking through the bank portal. Now, when it comes to using the transferable points, you would need to set up an account with that airline or hotel program. So Air Canada Aeroplan, the example we did, you'd have to set up an Aeroplan account, and then you'll have an Aeroplan account number. And then when you transfer the points, yeah, I didn't actually get into the mechanics of how to transfer points because I wanted to just focus more on the benefits. But yeah, when you actually do it, you'll need to take that airline or hotel partner program's membership number, which you will get when you sign up for an account. And there's going to be a field in the transfer points kind of section of the Amex or Chase or City portal dashboard that you have, like the online accounts. And you'll enter your membership number there, and you'll decide how many points to transfer. And then you'll say like confirm transfer, and then the points will go over there. Typically instantly. Sometimes there's a bit of a delay of a few business days. And then once you've set that up on the airline or hotel website itself, you will log in, and there it'll be like another search form. So hope that kind of clarifies the difference.
Yeah, and you also answered Talik's question about how to actually transfer your points. So Talik, I hope you got that. I can help you with that if it's not clear to you. Let's see. So Nancy's asking, how do you know where to get the best or lowest rates? Like, you went from one program to another program, and it was like the worst and the best maybe, but like, how do you know what to look for? Or do you just have to try on every single website?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, if you just know the fact that you have this bank's points and this bank has a list of, let's say, like 20 transfer partners, and you don't know anything else, then the only way you can find out is by searching on every of the airlines' websites. Now, thankfully, it's quite well documented if there's like sweet spots, right? I talked about which sweet spots are like each airline hotel has their own sweet spots. There's been a lot of content written out there, created out there about which airlines, which hotels have these sweet spots. So that's where a little bit of light research, reading on major websites will come in handy. In general, the research process that I would recommend is simply to say like, if you want to go to Japan, right? Like be like US to Japan award sweet spots is a great way to start your search. And then you'll find out which airline programs give you some of those most favorable rates for going to your specific destination. If you only have a certain type of points, you could say American Express membership rewards sweet spots, or Air Canada Aeroplan sweet spot. There's tons of content that's been created. There are also services out there that will let you input a specific origin and destination, and it will show you among all the airline transfer possibilities what the respective prices are. But I think the one that I'm familiar with hasn't been updated in a while, so it's not necessarily the best bet. But I will kind of pull it up for you guys afterwards and follow up to that question.
Is it points.me?
Okay, yeah, that's another one that I wasn't thinking of, but point.me would be probably the most current. It is a paid service, but I will say that, I think people who use it have had good experiences with it. And the idea of the service is, yeah, it's a paid service, so modest, like I think monthly fee, but it does take some of that research process out of like what you need to do. So you just need to enter your origin destination, and it'll kind of show you, here's what we recommend to do. Here's the program we recommend you transfer this program to, and it'll give you actually step-by-step instructions for doing that. So I think it's a very beginner-friendly tool, and if you're kind of going through this process and you need a little bit of help or you'd like to give it a try, then I think I would actually recommend point.me for somebody who's just going through it. At the start, I think they have pretty favorable like trial pricing too. You can try the service.
Yeah, I think we have a discount code to that. So I'll include it in the follow-up email on Friday, if I can find it. So I'll share that because that is helpful for these transferable points, especially. Okay, wonderful. We have another question about how do we keep abreast on the partners, alliances, and transfer bonuses that are happening? Like, how would you actually know what's happening when, or if it's happening at all?
So partners is pretty static. Sometimes partners come and go, but in general, it's pretty static. I would actually echo point.me again. I'm pretty sure they have support for transfer bonuses too. So if something is like only happening in September, let's say the 20% bonus to Aeroplan that we went through in the example, I'm pretty sure they would actually show that, be like, this transfer bonus is happening. It's a good deal, consider taking advantage. But if you're not using point.me, then things like transfer bonuses or transfer partners changing, like coming and going, that's stuff that many of the major websites in our space are going to cover day to day, including ours, right? Prince of Travel, but also, kind of more geared towards American websites. I like onemileatatime.com. I think that's actually the site that inspired me to start what I do. And they're very comprehensive.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, personally, I feel like the travel hacking bloggers are so prolific and there's so much out there that anytime I have a question, I really Google it. And I feel like I trust so many people that show up in Google because I've had such good success. Like, you've definitely shown up in my Google, Ricky.
Yeah.
There's a ton of people. You guys are creating so much content around this because everything is changing. And I just feel like there's a lot of this stuff explained really well. So good job, and keep doing what you're doing because you're definitely helping me. And a lot of
Thank you. Yeah, we try to be very on top of things, right? Both, us and also just our peers in the space. Everything is changing a lot, and it really is like quite in depth. Saw some comments like that was a lot, in a short amount of time, and it really is. It's a lot of knowledge to absorb. But it's one of those situations where absorbing that knowledge, putting in the time, does result in some pretty spectacular results.
Yeah. We have a question about if there are communities for people who want to share the wealth in gaining points. For example, Chase continually offers 15,000 point bonus rewards for referring a friend, but they're saying that whoever asked this question was saying that it's hard to get their like friends and family. Is there like an online resource where people like share their discount codes, or is there some sort of community where that happens?
Yeah, I would say for that, there's lots of, this is a pretty, it's ultimately a pretty niche community, but within the community, there's lots of groups that do exist. So I would say spend a bit of, do a bit of light reading, get to know a few of the major websites, look on Google for some of your questions, find out the ones that, seem to speak to you and answer the questions that you have. They usually, a lot of these websites will also have like Facebook groups or memberships, stuff like that. So, you know, in our case, Prince of Travel, we have a free Facebook group, we have a paid membership, so we have both options. And then I found, you know, I found that in many cases, yeah, once you get into a community, there's often like a way to, you know, share your referral links here, or use a fellow community member's referral link to sign up for a new card. And oftentimes, especially when you interact with others, strike up a rapport, maybe exchange a few tips, right? Help each other out. That's when others are more motivated to also use your referral too. Yeah, I think when you're starting out, kind of if you're an active participant in this community, you'll be more heavily rewarded because there's going to be more information coming to you, and you'll get more out of it. And also you'll get to know people, you'll get some refer a friend points coming through. When you're first starting out, I would also say, you know, start out by using somebody else's refer a friend link, and maybe they'll end up using yours down the line.
Yeah, shameless plug here, but we just created groups on our website. So I just dropped in the group for Points and Miles Travel Hackers. So you guys are welcome to share your referral links there. But I think Ricky's spot on. I mean, for the Chase points that I earned last year, I just posted like what a difference Points and Miles has made in my travel life and like my life in general. And like, if you are wanting a card, like Chase points are the best. And I put the referral link right on my Facebook, and all these random connections did it and privately messaged me like, thank you so much. I'm going to use this to go X, Y, or Z. And I don't even know those people. So maybe it's not like your mom or brother or sister, but maybe it's like the people that are loosely watching you on social media travel the world and wondering like, how are you getting to the places you're getting to? Like, share the knowledge, share the, you know.
I would also add, if because the question mentioned that, you know, I'm trying to get my friends and family into it and they're a bit reluctant. Yeah, I've observed that quite a bit. The best way around that is, if your friends or family is like reluctant, put them in business class using your points. You know, treat them to a flight, and then they'll be like, wow, how do I do this? And be like, now will you sign up for cards? And usually they will.
Yeah. We have a question about if you can use points for rental cars.
Points for rental cars. So rental cars do not have the types of loyalty programs that give you the outsized value that we saw from airlines and hotels. So it's still possible to book rental cars through the portal, right? At your fixed value. So 1 cent per point for American Express, 1.25 to 1.5 for Chase, depending on which card you hold. But there's no like rental car loyalty program where it's like, here's a fixed price and you end up getting like the win that we saw with the business class flight, right? That's pretty much reserved for flights and to some extent hotels. I think the general play for rental cars that you can get from credit cards is status. So the American Express Platinum card that I showed you guys, right? One of the benefits, it actually gives you status, elite status, with many different rental car programs. I don't recall exactly which ones off the top of my head, but it's free status that you get just for holding the card. The card obviously costs money. The idea is you're paying for some of the benefits and the points, but once you have the status, you get, you know, upgrades on the car you booked, guaranteed car rentals, which is very important these days. Oftentimes you find car rentals, there's a shortage wherever you're going. So that's, I would say, the bigger value to be had from the rental cars.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. We have a few very niche questions. So I'm actually going to ask people to like directly get in contact with Ricky. I've posted his Instagram and Facebook. You can ask him your like specific niche questions there, but we have just a few more general ones, if that's okay. Ricky, do you have a few more minutes?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Wonderful. Also, like, I feel like every travel hacker just wants to answer questions about points and miles. Is that true, Ricky?
I love talking about this stuff, as you guys can tell. So.
Okay, wonderful.
Let's do it.
So Elizabeth is asking, do you use a VPN or incognito windows to search for flights or points or anything like that? Does that make a difference?
In generally, no. I feel like it's the whole a whole myth around using a VPN to search for flights, right? Like if you use incognito, or if you don't use incognito, they'll raise the price on you. I think that's a pretty proven myth, or at least something that, you know, just it's like a life hack that's spread in the mainstream, but it isn't really proven. So in general, no, I don't think using a VPN or incognito is going to help. The one exception is when you're signing up for a card, specifically with American Express, sometimes if you use incognito mode, you will find better sign-up offers than when you don't use incognito mode. So that is the one important exception. And in general, if you research a little bit about like best welcome offer for a given card, you'll see, you know, some websites will cover the fact that if you use an incognito mode, you'll get a better offer, significantly better sometimes, like 100,000 versus 150,000. So, and I would also caution though that not all websites are going to tell you that, because sometimes they get paid if you use the 100,000 point offer. You know what I mean? So in this game, you kind of have to, like, the more research you do, the more you're going to come out ahead. And especially when signing up for a card the first time, right? Often these bonuses are once in a lifetime. You do want to put in more work to make absolutely sure you're getting the best offer available to you.
Wow. That makes a lot of sense. And also I need to be using the incognito next time I'm looking for a bonus.
Yeah, it's worth checking.
Oh, definitely. Along those lines, you know how when you're sitting in the seat of an airplane and you see a welcome offer pamphlet, is that generally better or worse?
It really depends. I would say that it's generally never like significantly better. So it's like, it's going to be an option. I would say you just have to take a look at the exact terms and compare it to what you find online. In general, I found that airlines like to use the in-flight offer as like just like a slightly different, but neither like much better or much worse offer. So I wouldn't put too much stock and be like, this is available, you know, on this flight only, so it must be really good. I think the incognito offers, for example, on American Express, are going to be much better most of the time.
Okay, that's great.
But keep in mind, oftentimes when you see that, the reason you're seeing it a lot, the reason it's being pushed in your face is because flight attendants get paid if you sign up for them, especially in the States. So just another thing to keep in mind.
That makes sense, and did not know that. Cheryl is asking if you can clarify again how much better it is to book in advance when you're booking flights on points or miles. So like, do you really recommend this like 12-month, 10 to 12 month out booking window?
If you can, I'd say, if that's like within reason. And the reason for that is because when you're planning 10, 12 months in advance, the availability situation, right? Like we talked about how not all seats are going to be bookable on points. And we call that award availability, right? That's a term you'll come across a lot, or award space, award availability. So that situation, like how many flights you have access to, which seats you have access to, is going to be a lot more favorable far in advance, because that's when most airlines generally release the space as soon as the flight is kind of loaded into the schedule, which is 9 to 12 months in advance. And then once you get closer in, 7, 6, 5, 4 months, other travelers are booking up that limited space. So your pool of options is going to become smaller and smaller, which means you would need to be more and more flexible to find something that works for you. So if you want the most options possible, yeah, and it's like feasible for you, then definitely plan 9 to 12 months in advance. It's going to be a bit of a shift for many travelers to think about their travels in that way, but all it takes, you know, when I'm playing the game, when I'm like trying to plan my travels, I'm always trying to think 1 year ahead of what do I want to do? What are the trips I want to take? Remember, there's always a lot of flexibility, right? When you book on points. So you're never locked in the way that you know, when you buy a flight, again, you might never see that money again. But if you pay on points, right, it might be a small change fee, small cancellation fee, or even no fee at all. And you get all your points back if you change your mind. So yeah, that's what I would say. It's just going to give you the best results. But it's not to say that if you can't book that far in advance that you're out of luck. you'll just have to maybe work a bit harder, be a bit more flexible to find something that works.
Great. We have another question about the expiration date of points. Are there some points that expire? Are there some program points that expire?
Yeah, I saw Sam answer this in the chat, which I would echo. Generally, the ones that expire tend to be the airline and hotel points rather than transferable points, right? We talked about how transferable points are the best, and with those points, as long as you keep your card open, then you have the point, you have access to the points. If you cancel the card, or if you downgrade to a different type of product, then you may lose the points, but you have to like decide to use them or transfer them to one of the partners. So you don't have to lose them, or you just have to use them in that fashion. The airline and hotel side, yes, like many of them will have expiration policies, but most of them have now moved to a policy where you just need to have activity in the accounts and they won't expire. So it's not like once you've earned them, you have like a fixed period to use them. It's more like, you've earned them, and then as long as you keep engaging with the program, the points won't expire as long as you have that activity. Because ultimately, having your points expire is one of the worst things to happen to a loyalty program member. Like, the programs don't want that. They don't want you to be upset with them. So they've mostly changed this more favorable rolling period type of way.
We have a question from Michelle, who has an Aeroplan Amex. So she's asking if she gets Amex points or Aeroplan points through an Aeroplan Amex.
Okay, I assume that's a Canadian card. If it's an Aeroplan Amex, it's going to be Aeroplan points.
So those are non-transferable. Those are
there's 3 of those cards. Those will the points will flow through to your Aeroplan account every month. If you wanted a transferable version, you're looking at the American Express membership rewards cards. So the Platinum Gold, Business Platinum, Business Gold, and those are transferable. You can transfer them once to Aeroplan or to other programs.
Interesting. All right, we have a question. I'll take the last question from Max. He's non-Canadian, non-American, and he's wondering if there's any way to take advantage of Canadian or American sign-on bonuses if you're a non-American.
Okay. The answer is yes. It's just it's a bit of I'll just say it's a bit of a gray area, but the answer is yes. Like it's possible, and that is also how Canadians can participate in US cards as well. I would just say it's an advanced stage of the game. But the idea though, right, is like, if you're traveling somewhere, I mean, there's a lot of countries where you don't actually need to, be a citizen to get a credit card. Like that's just the policy. So if you're traveling somewhere where that's the policy, that's something that you can potentially look into.
Where would that be? What's an example?
Well, in the States, okay, you don't have to be a citizen, but most American issuers do ask you to be a resident, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think it's a little beyond the scope of this discussion, but if any international folks have follow-up questions, I'm happy to help too.
Interesting. All right. Okay, we're getting a few more questions. Are you okay for a few more minutes?
Yeah, happy to.
Wonderful. So Michelle is saying on the WestJet site, it only shows prices shows price as cash versus WJ dollars. Does that mean it's not available with points?
Okay, WestJet. Michelle, unfortunately, you've chosen the inferior Canadian points currency to earn, because with WestJet, right, the WestJet's points are just WestJet dollars. So WestJet is a kind of an exception to the rule, where their points are literally just $1 that you can use against WestJet flights. So it's actually not that interesting to collect WestJet dollars, because it's really no different than like you're not getting additional value out of them compared to Aeroplan, where we saw like 75,000 can get you a business class flight. Yeah, WestJet can't do that. So in this case, yeah, your only 2 options are basically cash or WestJet dollars, which are effectively the same thing. The WestJet dollars are really just, think of it as cash that you can only spend on WestJet. I'd say if you're looking to maximize your points and kind of take your game to the next level, then if you live in Canada, Aeroplan's where you want to be.
Wow. Okay. And have you heard, or has anybody gotten the built card? We had Richard Kerr on about a year ago talking to us
Yeah.
about the built card and how you could pay your rent with it. Do you have it? Have you heard of people having it? And can you explain a little bit for those who don't know what built is?
Yeah, sure. So my understanding, I don't have the build card. It's a card for Americans to be able to earn points from paying rent. So that's the use case. I think for anybody who pays rent, it's a fantastic product because it's free, and you typically don't earn points on rent. So now, for your biggest monthly expense, you can earn points, and the built points
Or
on
to a lot of
the presentation, it's a transferable point, right? It was one of the columns in that chart that was on the slide deck and that somebody linked here. So actually, I think it's a great product for any Americans. If there's any, Americans who rent in the chat here, it's a great card that will help you earn extra points that you otherwise wouldn't earn.
Yeah, and no fees, and you can transfer them to many partners and earn up to 50,000 points a year. I was actually just looking into this like 2 days ago. We're definitely getting a built card in my household.
I'd say it's a very, very innovative product, and it's good to see that in our space for sure.
Now, Ricky, I wanted to end with you just sharing what the Prince of Travel is and also what your summit is, because I know you have a big event happening in a few weeks. And
yeah,
one is around, and if you're still selling tickets, but it sounds like it's going to be quite amazing.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so Prince of Travel, yeah, like I mentioned, we run a website, we have daily content, we have a YouTube channel, so you can follow along if you prefer video. We basically talk about everything that's within this subject matter to help you, fully absorb and understand everything you need to know to book the trip of your dreams. And to not just book the trip of your dreams, but to redefine what the trip of your dreams even is. Because let me tell you, after you go on a few business class flights, right, you're going to be thinking like, what's next, right? It's going to be, it's a whole world that our community is in, and it's so much fun to be involved in. If you love travel, if you are looking for a better experience, and if you're looking to do so for a fraction of the price, right, by leveraging many of the things we talked about today, then definitely come check out our website. Now, our event, the biggest event we've ever hosted, is coming up in a couple of weeks' time. It's on October 29th and 30th. It's that weekend, and it's happening in Toronto. It's called the Travel Summit. And the idea here is it's an event to bring all of us together in this community, but also in the wider community of other creators in our space. So we talked a lot about fellow like travel hacker, like websites, right? As well as YouTube channels and social media stars. So I think we've got, a good thing going on here in this community, lots of great ideas, lots of great personalities. And I wanted to kind of bring everybody together with this event, the Travel Summit taking place at the end of the month in Toronto. So that's happening in, it's like under 3 weeks time now. Would love to have you guys join us if you're interested. It is an in-person event taking place across the weekend. We're going to have 24 breakout sessions, all educational, all on different topics, similar to like the one we did today, right? Transferable points is one topic, 24 different topics geared towards both maximizing your points and just wider topics of interest within the travel space as well. Honestly, I was kind of inspired by Matt's work at TravelCon to kind of do something of this scale. I thought he did a great job. And yeah, I really wanted to kind of have that in-person celebration of the stuff we all love, just like TravelCon was. And if you guys have been to TravelCon, I do hope to, to do something that's like a fraction of the success that event series was. So Travel Summit information is, Erica's kindly linked here. I'm sure we'll send a follow-up email as well. There's a discount code for the Nomadic Network community members. TNN gives you 50 Canadian dollars off the ticket price. And yeah, we're still selling tickets. We are at about 300 people now. We'd love to fill the room even more. We're excited. So we'd love to see some of you guys there as well. If you enjoyed today's session and you'd like to learn more, you'd like to maybe speak to me, I'm happy to, chat with you. If you let me know you're coming, then consider coming. Toronto, end of the month, October 29th to 30th.
Yeah, that's incredible. I just want to give a personal recommendation as somebody that considers herself like the laziest travel hacker, but I've gotten so many flights on points over the years. It has been absolutely a credit to the people that I surround myself with. So if you are able to go to Toronto, I would highly recommend it because you'll meet a ton of travel hackers and then you can ask them questions. So to make travel hacking friends is a great travel hacking hack because people love, just like Ricky's on here for an extra 15 minutes, travel hackers love to answer travel hacking questions. So
Yeah.
Surround yourself with travel hackers is my recommendation. And if not in person, he has a wonderful free community and a paid community. So just wanted to shout that out too at princeoftravel.com. Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Ricky. Ooh, I do have a few slides to end this with, but I just wanted to thank you so much. This was so thorough, and it's on a topic that we've actually been asked quite a few times to present on because people are always wondering what the best points they can get are and how they can be flexible and smart, right? So this is all about flexibility and being able to book the trips you want to book, even if you don't know what those are. So I'm going,
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really glad you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys found it valuable, and you guys know where to find me if you'd like to reconnect.
Yeah, and I'll be sending out an email on Friday so that you have all of his information and all the things that we said we would follow up with. Just very quickly, for those of you who said this was your first event, we have a ton of events that we put on through the Nomadic Network. Some of them are presentations like this. We also have, actually, I think there's another slide here, a few of the upcoming ones. We have upcoming in-person meetups that we'd love to invite you to. I think we have a hike going on soon. And we also have book clubs where we actually invite the author. You guys, this is Jessica Nabongo. She's been to every single country in the world, and she wrote a fantastic book. I'm almost done with it. It's happening on October 25th. If you haven't read the book, you're still welcome to come. She is the first Black woman to do this on record, and she is so inspiring. So come listen. You don't have to have read the book, but I suggest you do because it's wonderful. And then we also have tours at thenomadicnetwork.com/tours. And just thank you again for joining us. This was lovely. Thank you, Ricky, for being here. And thank you everyone for being here tonight. It was really wonderful. We had 112 people, I think, at once.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And I hope this made a difference in your travel journey and journal. And I hope you get to book a lot of free or very, very cheap flights because of this talk. Have a great night. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.